Hey yo brothers, I'm watching the Daily Wrap Up crew. Shout out to the Daily Wrap Up crew. Go subscribe to their channel. Topic of conversation is so-called black men. So-called black men getting grace from so-called black women. Brothers, I'm gonna tell you this now. Do not look for grace from the so-called black woman. Are there some that will give you that grace, that will have empathy and compassion for what you're going through as a so-called black man? Man, absolutely. There are good women like that. There are very understanding, compassionate women like that. But brothers, in general, the so-called black woman sees herself as a double victim, a double minority. The so-called black woman looks at herself as, not only am I black, but I'm also a woman. So I got it twice as bad because I got to deal with the struggle of being black and I got to deal with the struggle of being a woman. If anything, the black man should have more compassion for me. So this is always going to be the conversation and the argument or debate that occurs when we start to broach this topic of conversation.
I understand that single mother black women are doing their best, and I agree. And you're saying that we should show them grace, and I also agree. But are y'all showing black men that same grace when y'all know that the government is working hard to not support black men and young black boys? They doing all the prison.
Brothers, we're looking for support from the wrong entities, the wrong demographics of people. The people that we're supposed to be looking for support from is each other. As so-called black men, we are supposed to be working together. We're supposed to be working side by side. We have to learn how to work together. We have to learn how to get along with one another. When we are the ones that need to sit down and have these conversations. But in order for that to happen, a lot of niggas got to get put out of commission. That's just the reality of it. They got to be put away, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to establish a proper order in our community.
Pipeline. Are y'all giving black men that same grace, or y'all still coming at, oh, y'all supposed to this, that, and the third? Y'all know the obstacles black men gotta face.
It's hard, but
brothers, the so-called black woman has been weaponized against the black man, and some of it is our fault, some of it is their daddy's fault, some of it is their mommy's fault. In general, some of it is their own fault. But in general, the so-called black woman has had her heart broken by a black man multiple times. She's probably been beaten by a black man. She's probably been cussed out and verbally assaulted by a so-called black man. She's had a lot of bad experiences with a black man. There are certain black women that have never had a positive experience with a man. They've never had a great experience with a man. They don't have a good experience with their granddad, their father. They have bad relationships with their brothers. They just hate men through and through. But they're not attracted to women, so they deal with men because they don't get down like that. Or because they can't maintain a relationship with a woman either. Because I've had conversations with several women in my life that are lesbians, and they've said the reason why, I asked them straight up, do y'all be getting into fights? They say y'all fight a lot. Do y'all fight a lot? They were like, hell yeah, because I'm a bitch just like you a bitch. I'm a girl just like you a girl. So if you talking crazy, what's up? Because the same way your woman gets that attitude and talks crazy to you, and you have to show restraint because you're a man so you don't knock the hell out of her, you're talking to someone of the same sex as you, the same gender as you, they're not going to have that. They're going to fight you back for saying some of that stuff. That's the reality of it. So that's why domestic violence is very high amongst the women, because women in general, they operate according to their feelings. They get to tripping, they get to going flipping out, having an attitude. And it's like, okay, so what you trying to do? And then you add and couple the fact that some of these women are already coming from chaotic backgrounds, chaotic situations. They're already coming from environments where people are fighting and going back and forth. And when I say chaotic, the word chaos just means void and empty. So when I say a chaotic background, that's literally what I mean. They're coming from a void and empty background, an background that is void and empty of love, order, respect, guidance, leadership, peace, things of that nature, the things that are needed in an environment for children to be raised in an upright manner.
I feel like a black woman cannot teach you how to be a man. What you just said, I totally agree with everything you said, but I feel like,
brothers, no, a woman can't teach you how to be a man. But a lot of times, brothers don't have a father in their life, and what happens is life teaches you how to be a man. You have to learn on the fly. You have to learn through a lot of trials and tribulations, trials and errors. That's the problem. That's the problem. We have to be proactive, not reactive. A lot of niggas are learning from falling on their face, falling on their ass, falling on their knee, their elbow, their shoulder, their neck, everything. And they learn by getting beat up by life. Life will whoop your ass, brothers. You understand that? You understand that? Life is a battle. What is a battle? A struggle, a wrestle. That's what it is. Life fights you. Life is very much competitive. Life is very much a competition. And you have to be able to play that game that is life. And a lot of niggas are not being prepared for life. And the number one thing that you prepare niggas with is knowledge. That's the number one thing people need, knowledge, knowing. Niggas don't know shit.
Like, depending on how she was raised as well, because 9 times out of 10, their parents are so stuck in their ways, so that's how they view certain things. So it's just like, depending on what her parents said, in her eyes, a man not supposed to cry, versus if I have a child, my baby crying, I'm going to ask him what's wrong, express to me what's going on. But I feel like now, our generation, we're trying to break those type of curses, because you can't say your mother didn't try. Hell, that's all she knew.
I sympathize. You know what makes it kind of even harder to think about that, because how Eli brought up the government. The government sets it up to the point where they want mothers to be single parents, and at the same time,
the government wants your money. The government wants taxes. That's what the government wants. Child support, they get money for that. That's instead of you just giving that money straight to the woman, now you have to pay the government and they have to get some of it. That's how that works. The government is trying to tax you in every way possible. The government is not for you. They're against you. They're for the Federal Reserve. That's what they're for. The government is not thinking about the citizens. Obviously, on the surface, they have to care about the citizens to some point, to some capacity, because citizens are who are maintaining and keeping civilization and society going. They can't just have everybody dead, because dead people are useless. But in general, the government is doing the bidding of the Federal Reserve, the bankers. That's what they're doing. That's what they're ran by. That's who's printing the money.
I would have to say you guys would have to try to build a relationship with the father, because they want you to be single parents. That's the only way you can get it. That's why y'all don't share apartments with your baby fathers, because you want to put them on child support. That's how the government has it.
But then I feel like in that same sentence, black men, because we have all these people going against y'all, especially the black men that go out and they're
brothers, at the end of the day, if we are fighting amongst each other all the time, that takes our minds and draws our minds away from what the real issues are in the world. Niggas want to play games all day, watch NFL, watch NBA, and I understand these are pastimes. I watch them as well from time to time. But in general, people are constantly in pursuit of something that's going to draw their mind away from the actual problems that are going on in their life and the world around them. There are a lot of problems going on in the world. A lot. There are a lot. And people just live their life day by day. These are becoming much akin to the days of Noah. Niggas out here see it's about to rain. You seeing the clouds forming. And you need to be building that boat, building that ark. But niggas not doing that.
Rising or do whatever it is, then they got an officer in their face and you want to go back and forth. Sir, this is not the time to be tough. Shut your mouth and get home. So I feel like men have to also learn, you want to be hood, you want to be gangster, you want to talk this, you want to talk that, but you have to learn how to keep yourself out the way too. Because you can't just go out to these streets and do whatever it is that you want to do and just think, oh, I can't be touched. Baby, it's hit. The system is mad.
Brother, something you have to understand is the so-called black woman is obsessed, not even just the black woman, the woman in general, but especially the so-called black woman, she's obsessed with having fun. She wants to have fun. The so-called black woman gets bored very easily. The woman gets bored. That's one of the main things that you're going to have to battle and fight and combat in your relationship with any woman you're with is boredom. The woman does not handle idle time very well. She does not like being in the house all day. The woman does not handle that very well. The woman has to get out. A lot of these women nowadays, they have that I got to shake my ass demon. They have to shake their ass at some point. They have to wiggle their hips at some point. They got to drop it like it's hot at some point. This is the reality of it. They have to get out. That's why I'm going to always say that in general, you have to have money to be in a relationship with a woman. You cannot be in a long-term relationship with a woman and you don't have your finances in order, because y'all are not going to be able to do anything. Y'all are going to be in the house bored all the time. Simple as that. A good wife, a good woman is going to, for the most part, want to be in a home. But in general, at some point, you got to get your woman out. She needs a change of scenery. You have to take her places. You have to do things with her. You have to get her out the house. She has to have something to look forward to outside of the home from time to time. Otherwise, that will start to manifest into a depression in her mind. The woman will get depressed from being in the house all the time. And these are things that brothers are not taught about the woman. You got to understand what a woman is. She is very much like having another kid. That's the reality of it. And she can be a burden at times. And the thing is, you deal with that burden as long as she's bringing things to the table. And that does not mean cooking and cleaning. It's not what that's about. It's not what that's about. It's just about, in general, coming into your life and being adorning your life, adding value to your life, and just coming into your life and making my life better. Coming into my life and bringing peace into my life. Coming into my life, making my life feel better. Me having something to look forward to when I get off work. I'm working all these hours. I come home to you, and you're my peace. You make me feel heaven on earth. That's the job of the woman, is to make you feel heaven on earth. Obviously, you don't set her up as an idol, but that's the job of the woman, is to make your house feel like heaven. Make your house feel like a palace. You could be in the smallest house. She'll make it feel like a kingdom. Make you feel like you in a mansion no matter where you at. That's what a good woman can do.
For you to be touched. A lot of black men feel like they are invincible, I will say.
And here's the thing with that, right? We talking about masculinity and femininity. Really what we're subscribing to is a westernized idea, like, you know, Europeanized idea of what masculinity and femininity is, okay? I'm from Ethiopia, it's an African country. Those traditional gender roles are not present back home. Yes, women are submissive to their husbands, but that whole like idea of femininity is really, in my opinion, a Western concept. That being said, in the West, the white man rules, correct? And we're living in a white hegemonic patriarchy.
The hegemonic word is unnecessary to say. But in general, I agree with her. The so-called white man is in power. And a lot of people talk about racism and things of that nature. You have to understand something, brothers. The majority of these corporations are owned by so-called white men. The CEOs are mostly so-called white men. The managers, the presidents, the vice presidents, the managers, the supervisors. Most of the supervisors and managers at these jobs are so-called white men. That's the reality of it. The person that's hiring you is probably going to be a so-called white man or woman. The person that's firing you is probably going to be a so-called white man or woman. When you walk into the majority of stores across America, whether it be a Walmart, a Myers, a Costco, Dollar General, whatever, it's going to be so-called white people that you see. Unless you are living in a predominantly black area like the Clevelands, the Phillies, the Detroits, the Baltimores, the Chicagos, the St. Louis, Missouri, the Memphis, Tennessees. Unless you're living in those areas where there is a high percentage of so-called black people, you're going to be running into that problem. So there's a reality of it. The country, for the most part, is white. And people will say, oh, white privilege, I grew up poor. I didn't grow up privileged in a home. The reality is all white people don't grow up in a advantageous household where they're rich and they're coming from straight just a silver spoon necessarily. But in general, they are able to assimilate into society far easier than a so-called black person is. So-called white people are able to go into school, most schools in America, and they can just blend in. They're able to blend in. They don't really stand out too much. They're able to just fit into the cultural framework, and they're able to have a sense of identity. That's the reality of it, because that's what identity means in the etymology. It means sense of oneness. Your identity is something that is established through your peer group. It's established when you're outside and based in your environment and your community. So if you're a so-called black person and you're around a bunch of people that don't look like you and don't resemble you or share the similar upbringing as you, it's going to be far more difficult for you to have a true identity. The so-called white person can go into the workforce and they can have a greater identity. The vast majority of the people that are probably going to be working at that job are probably going to look like them. They can talk to their supervisors and managers a little bit differently because there's not any racial bias or preference or tension between them. When you come into a job as a so-called black man, a lot of times they're not going to say it, but they're expecting you to fail. They're expecting you to fuck up. They're expecting you to be lazy. They're expecting you to do certain things. So you're already coming into the door with a radar on you. So-called black man and woman in a so-called society, in a society where the so-called white man and woman are ruling and are in power, you are not allowed to be average to the same extent that they're allowed to be average. You don't have the same margin of error. It's just the reality of it.
So all men, including black men, are striving for white hegemonic male characteristics. That being said, right?
Yes, the reason why the black man is striving for the so-called white man's characteristics is because, once again, the so-called black man does not have any sense of identity within himself. He does not have an identity that he can latch onto, a sense of oneness. So what happens is, most of the time, the so-called black man latches onto the identity of a nigga, a thug, a gangster, a hood nigga. That's, for the most part, what he aligns himself with. And then the so-called black men that don't align themselves with that, a lot of them try to become a Caucasian version of an African American.
Men who have those white hegemonic male characteristics, and when I mean hegemonic, I mean traditional,
or shall I say an African American version of the Caucasian, shall I say?
Strong man, go out working, whatever. Mm-hmm. They're seen as protectors, providers, and what's the other P? It's protectors, providers, and some other P, whatever. Black men, they're seen as the predator. They have the same characteristics. Mm-hmm. The same idealized masculinity, the same toughness, the same brazenness, the same boldness. And one is seen as a protector and the other is the predator. So while we're talking about this system...
brothers, the black man is a predator. So-called black man in the black community, look at how he's trained to approach the so-called black woman. Hey, girl, what up with you? Hey, yo, ma, how you? Damn, that ass fat, shorty. How you, baby? Yeah, what up with you, ma? Like, that's how the so-called black man is approaching the black woman in the black community. Not all so-called black men. I'm not speaking about all so-called black men, but I know that growing up in the black community, this is stuff that I've seen quite often. This is how niggas approach women. What up with you? How you? What up with y'all? What y'all got going on? What y'all doing today? What y'all getting into? How you? That's what's going on. That's the swagger that you're approaching the so-called black woman with. And in general, it is predatory. It's not, hey, how you doing? And a lot of that, the black woman doesn't help that because she dresses like an absolute hoe. I'm just calling it what it is. So-called black woman has an obsession with having her ass out, having her titties out, and having her belly button out, having her stomach out. So-called black woman needs to put some clothes on. But in general, there's no man in the home telling her to put some fucking clothes on. There's no man in these households telling them to put some clothes on. The woman, their mom doesn't put any fucking clothes on. Brothers, this is the reality of it, man. What type of woman are you putting your baby inside, putting your seed inside, your sperm inside, your seed of copulation inside? Who are you conceiving with? That's the reality of it, man. Because that's what's going to determine how your daughter becomes. If you've already made the mistake and put your baby in the wrong woman, that's a whole. You put your bacon, put your cake in the wrong oven. That's a whole nother video for a different day. I gotta make different videos about that because that's a different set of issues you got to deal with. But in general, we got to be more proactive.
Right? Can we just unilaterally agree that this does not benefit black men as well? The same way that it is a disadvantage to black women, it is a disadvantage to black men because you guys are constantly being labeled as predators when really you are trying to protect. That's what you're trying to do, or at least
I appreciate.
To an extent, niggas is trying to protect, but in general, there are a lot of niggas that are predators. We men in general have a predatory nature. That's what we do. We seek to hunt and prey, and women have a prey-like nature. They desire to be preyed upon. That's what women want to do. They want to be preyed upon. When a woman is going outside dressing a certain way, I'm dressing like this for me. No, you're not. You're dressing like that because you want attention. You're posting these pictures on the Instagram not because you're posting them for yourself. You're posting them because you want attention. You want to be preyed upon. You want to be lusted after. And that's what the black man has to stop doing. He has to stop lusting after every woman he see. Occasionally, you're going to look at a woman, you're going to see a woman and say, damn, she fine. You go up to her, you talk to her, you buzz down, chop her down, see what she talking about, see what she on. Yeah, that's one thing. But for the most part, brothers got to stop just lusting at every single woman they see. Every single woman, liking every picture, and putting hard eyes under every female. This is the reason why the woman is so batshit crazy, is because she's overwhelmed and flooded with too many options, or the illusion of thinking she has more options than she really has. And in general, this woman is talking about having empathy and support for the so-called black man. That's what the so-called black man needs. That's what the so-called black woman needs to embrace. She needs to embrace being her man's support. She needs to embrace being her man's rib, her man's backbone. She needs to embrace being there for her man, understanding that the job of a man is to build up society and to go out there and conquer the world. And it's your job as his woman to be able to support him in that endeavor.
I definitely appreciate that.
But just to stay on the feminine energy real quick, when I think of feminine energy, I think of a woman embracing like her inner goddess. You know what I mean? Feminine energy is powerful, and I feel like
see, this is the problem, brothers. This is the problem. The black man just said, I've seen episodes and shows of this, and I know that these brothers are not ignorant or stupid, or shall I say, or mentally slow. I know that, but once again, we have to have the same knowledge base across the board. Femininity is not about you embracing your inner goddess. That is the problem right now, that the woman is embracing her inner goddess. She needs to go away from her inner goddess. Femininity in its pure essence and pure form is that of a wife and that of a mother. The woman submitting to her man as a wife. That man puts his sperm inside of her. She gestates that sperm and has a child, and she becomes a mother. She loves, and now she's operating in the family construct. Outside of operating in the family construct, why are we really here, brothers? Why are we really here? If you have a bunch of people that don't have families, that don't have wives, don't have husbands, don't have children, life is going to be all about them. Life is just going to be about everybody just fucking and sucking on each other. That's the reality of it. People need families. Having a family is going to keep you in the house. Having a family is going to keep you grounded. Having a family is going to keep you upright and honest. It's going to prevent you from doing all these devilish things you see in this society. The reason why people are doing all these devilish things is because the family is not intact. People don't have a family to go home to. People are not embracing being husband, father, wife, mother. That's what you're supposed to be embracing doing. When you embrace doing that, those are where your redeeming qualities are going to come to you. So when you're standing before the God of the Bible on the day of judgment, he's going to look at you and determine, oh, you're worthy because you were a father, you were a husband. This is what you did. You were a great person, so on and so forth.
I think that women in our community don't understand that the power in being feminine. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's so much of this.
Yeah, they don't understand the power to be an external hard drive for their man. They don't understand that your man, and when your man is working 60 hours a week and you're making him breakfast, he don't gotta, when a man don't have to worry about folding his clothes, don't have to worry about what's for lunch, what's for dinner, what's for breakfast. You writing him notes in the inside the thing and all that, and inside of his lunch box and all that. A man can work 70, 80 hours a week to provide for his woman with ease because he knows that his woman is taking care of him and knows that all he has to do is focus on working because she's handling everything else. It's your job to come into a man's life and focus on him so he can focus on getting the bag and focus on providing and focus on protecting. And you're supposed to focus on the household. Even if that means that man has to work 80 hours a week, sometimes 90 hours a week, whatever it takes. He'll do whatever it takes to provide, but you're focusing on him. That's the reality of it. The so-called black woman is working 40 hours a week at her job, and the black man working 40 hours a week at his job. Really, the black man needs to be working around 65 hours a week at his job, and the black woman needs to be at home taking care of the household. So-called black woman shouldn't have a full-time job. The so-called black woman at best at most should have a part-time job. Now, if she has a career and things of that nature, she has a career in nursing or she does hair, whatever, she can make her money on the side. But in general, the black woman shouldn't be working. The black woman should be at home. She should have the ability to work, but the so-called black man is the one that's supposed to be working, and she's supposed to be the one taking care of everything. Fold his clothes, wash the dishes, make sure everything is clean, and he provides, he protects, and you run the house. That's how things are supposed to be.
Masculine energy that's going on, they feel like they need to match the man, that they really don't understand that femininity is what inspires a man to want to be better. You know what I mean?
I like what you said. I like what you said. But again, I'm going to say Atlanta again, because that's the only place I know. I like what you said, and I like what you said. It's my walk. It's this, it's that. But I feel like the men here, again, ain't looking at my walk. They looking at the BBL.
Yes, that's the so-called black man. The so-called black man is worried about how fat a woman's ass is. The black man is overly worried about and overly concerned about how fat a woman's ass is. And brothers, honestly, brothers, a lot of these women are proportionately obese. They are symmetrically obese. I say this all the time, man. These women are 230 pounds, 5'7", 230 pounds, but because they ass is perfectly placed and their fat is perfectly placed in their ass, their thighs, and their hips perfectly, you overlook that. No, these women are overweight. They're overweight by a lot. And you're encouraging obesity because it's proportionate. The black man has to let go of that.
These are some really shallow men.
I understand
but again, you...
Well, all those women are saying that because they don't have the BBLs, they don't have the asses, and none of these women are really bad looking women. And that's the problem. The so-called black woman has self-image issues. She's having identity issues as well now, that sense of oneness, because she doesn't feel like, if she doesn't have a fat ass, she doesn't feel like she's pretty. She feels like she's missing something because she doesn't have a fat ass. This is the problem. And that goes right directly back to the attire. So-called black woman doesn't have the proper attire. And that's because the so-called black man is not in the home telling his woman, telling his children, hell no, you're not putting that on. You're not going to wear that. This is how you're going to dress. This is the reality of it. The so-called black man needs to put his fucking foot down. He doesn't have the power to put his foot down. One, because the so-called black man doesn't, out of all demographics in this society, he's at the bottom financially. He's not making the most money across the board. So this is the reality of it. The so-called black woman doesn't have to respect the black man. I've come across several black women in my life that have told me straight up told me, I would not be with you. I can't be with you. I can't control you. I like to be with a man that I can control. I like to be with a man that I can tell what to do. And I know he gonna do whatever I want him to do. And I can act however I want to act. I can't be that way with you. This is how the so-called black woman operates. The so-called black woman prefers to be with a man that she can control, manipulate, verbally, and mentally abuse all day. A man that she can argue with all day. A man that she can talk down to all day. She likes that power. She likes that. This is the type of woman you're dealing with. This is the woman in this society. So that is something that has to be dealt with. Once again, a lot of men have to be put out of commission because they're not assets to our people. They're becoming liabilities. We have to let go. We have to cut ties with the liabilities.
Equate those type of men to the type of the not quality men, because those are the same men y'all gonna be complaining about that.
But I'm trying to say, like, y'all not staying down here, so that's why we stuck with them.
So
first of all,
I'm basically trying to wrap it up and say. That's basically what I'm trying to wrap it up and say.
Let me ask a question. So when you walking down the street trying to tell me that no good men try to talk to you?
No, they will. But if you put me next to the BBL, I don't know. I'm gonna get
I'm saying good.
You shouldn't be next to the women with BBLs. Get away from those women. You have to get away from them. You have to get away from them. And once again, the BBL woman has to be put out of commission. Those women have to be put out of commission. They're too focused on being an ass. They think that having a fat ass is what makes you value and gives you value in the black community. That's the problem. Those people have to be put out of commission. The people that are overly infatuated with booty meat have to be put out of commission. I understand, brothers, we all men. Ain't nothing like looking at a woman with a nice body. The woman is great eye candy. It's nothing like seeing your woman with a fat ass and she got a t-shirt and no panties on and she washing the dishes and you just walk past and smack on it. I understand, brothers. I understand. I get it. I get it. But just because a woman has a fat ass does not mean that you're supposed to worship the ground that she walks on and that you're supposed to play all of her games. A lot of these women that have fat asses, a lot of them are strippers. A lot of them are exotic dancers. And an exotic dancer is someone that goes up to a man. She can talk to a man, seduce a man, give a man a lap dance, bump and grind on him for money. And then she can make this man think that they had a real connection and then go to the next man and do the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. A lot of strippers, they are able to be in the strip club industry for decades because they have clientele. They have regular customers that come in that give them money to grind on them. Regulars. They have regulars. So this is the reality of it. They're sex workers. Instead of them actually doing sex, they just humping.
Man, go to the
your face card could be all the way
I could be
valid.
by myself. They gonna hit me. They gonna be on my neck. But if you put me in a club full of BBLs, it's over with.
Nobody's looking at me.
They're not gonna even look at this beautiful face.
I didn't rate.
Brothers, the so-called black woman needs to stop wearing all this damn weave. She needs to stop wearing these wigs. The so-called black woman needs to wear her actual hair. The reason why the so-called black woman is wearing weave, the reason why the so-called black woman is putting all this stuff in her hair is because the so-called black woman, for one, doesn't have time, because the so-called black woman has to go to work, for one. But above and beyond that, that starts at a very young age. A lot of these young girls, their mom don't have time to do their hair in the morning anymore because their mom got to get up and go to work. Their mom got stuff they got to do. Mommy got to wake up in the morning and she got to get your hair together for school or for whatever you're doing that day. That's the job of the mother. This is why there needs to be another woman in the home. There wouldn't be the worst idea for there to be a couple of women in the home, 2 or 3 women in the home working together so that the household could function properly. Something we don't understand.
Into some real good.
looking like some ants.
But again, like I told y'all, I talked to a group of men last week, and he dead told me, and again, this is why I said I'm not waiting. It don't even make sense for me to wait. Like, it don't make. He told me basically they're gonna do whatever it is that this BBL girl want. Like I told you, from the paying the bills to doing this to doing that, treating her right for now because they just want to fuck. But us natural women, yeah, you're wifey material. You just gotta wait for your turn.
The so-called black woman, there is no natural black woman in the black community. And that's just an opinion. That for the most part, there's no natural woman in the black community. The vast majority of black women are wearing eyelashes. They're wearing lip fillers. Not all of them, but a lot of them are getting their eyebrows done. They have all this synthetic hair, things of that nature. It's a lot, man. It's a lot, man. A lot of them don't have anything natural about them. They're not embracing their natural beauty. That goes back to identity. There's, once again, that sense of oneness. This is the reality of it. When you look throughout the black community, the vast majority of black women are wearing bundles and lace fronts that they're getting from these Arab shops, from the Arab stores. The Arabs and the Armenians and whatever they are coming into the black community, and they're selling the black woman hair. They're buying, and that's who's getting all the money from these. That's who's getting that. They're profiting off of the black woman's insecurity about her own hair, her own hair texture. This is the problem, man. This is the stuff that has to be addressed. The so-called black woman has to embrace her natural hair, and that starts at a very young age. Brothers, you should already have that planned and plotted out when you bring your daughter into this world. You already should be knowing, she needs to dress this way. I'm going to be raising her this way. I'm going to raise my daughter with wife qualities. I'm going to make sure that I'm raising my daughter to embrace her natural beauty. And then, brothers, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I think we get the point.